Hello and welcome to this Projects in Box video. This is part of the launch series for the new version 5.3, and in this session we're going to be taking a look at dynamic navigation, not just the slides this time but also all the way through into the real live action and how to set all that up. So let's have a look. The first thing we're going to do is select our project, and we'll see that the project, whilst it has a standard template layout and image which is appropriate for all projects of this type, injected onto that is content that's specific to this particular project. So all the things we've been able to do before, like jump off to a process and see the documentation, they're of course all there. But we can now see real information laid over the top of that. We can see status information, we can see stats coming back from plans, risks and issues, and names of people and descriptions and commentaries and process statuses and all sorts of different things. All these things are coming through from the properties model, which allows you to collect data from files that you hold in the system and forms that you set up, and have all that stored at the project level centrally. So this is about portraying that back onto the diagrams. We'll talk about how all that's set up in a minute, but we can see how some of that's going to change. As we change the data, so it will be refreshing to the diagrams when the diagrams need to be refreshed. So often we hold them in cache, so not everything will reflect immediately, but certainly as new people come onto the project they'll see those changes come through. So let's, for example, come into the risk register here, and we're going to come to our risk list, and we're going to change one of these risks. Let's change it to be a more significant risk, so we'll choose this one here, and we'll increase its probability like that, which that's more like it. Increase its probability to likely, so it's now a 4 rather than a 1, so that will have changed the statistics for the risk level. And when I save and check that back in, that will feed that data through into the properties model, and then in turn when it comes to making changes to the diagram, that will show up in the diagram as well. And we could have fed through statuses from those as well, and tasks, risks and issues as well. And that's going to be the same for all the sorts of data, things we're bringing from spreadsheets as well, and also things that we might choose to update from form. So here, for example, we can see the description of the project. I can come in here and update this with something new like that, and just apply, and we'll see that straight away shown on here. We can see that new text, and we can see it's updated the risk score from 42 to 45. And we could see that other things, properties that we might set up, and those things that we're just filling in here, system project properties, you can decide what those are. You can set up pick lists and dates fields and values and text fields and all sorts of things, and have them feeding in various different places as you need them. They can also, of course, appear in reports and be injected into files as well. We've got a new thing which we can show up here, which is process properties, but we're going to come back and talk about that in another video. And then we've also changed the way that the navigation here works to some degree. So yes, we can click on processes and see documents associated with them. We've always been able to click on buttons like these over here, and it will take us to plan information, but it would always show you the latest, the last view that you'd had there. So it would take you to if the last thing you'd been looking at was overdue project tasks, it would always show you overdue project tasks there. Now though, we can decide what to show people when they click on one of these buttons. So it's chosen my project tasks, and it's chosen a default view, so not a filtered view. And that's really useful actually for getting people, giving some certainty about what they're going to get each time. They just get that list shown to them. In this case there are no tasks, but they don't have to go off and look for the particular things in that case. And we've taken that and made a lot of use of that further on. So when we come down and look at the admin features, so now all of the navigation diagrams for our standard methods, well, nearly all of them actually for the more substantial projects, have a secondary screen, admin features. And this is about giving the individual users some bite-sized step-through areas that they might like to focus on for their project. So where people are less experienced in project management, it's focusing them in on some of the things that they might want to look at. It's taking them perhaps step by step through the project reporting process, updating their files, updating their property data in the same way as we did a minute ago, and then producing particular reports. But we've always been able to point people to either the generic report form or specific reports and have them run immediately. But now we can do that sort of more specific navigation in other areas as well. So here we can see some frequent checklist areas, and this is pointing people in at using exactly that functionality at particular areas. So I can see overdue tasks. I've got one overdue task, it's telling me from the stats, and that is my overdue project tasks. Straight to that. Now that's really very helpful. It's got an M against it because only modify level users in the project can see the project level tasks. If you're a low level user, you can only see your own tasks. So these sort of things not everybody will be able to use, but when you can, you take them straight to that. If we want to see the open risks, it goes away and gets me the 4 open risks with some graphics, and I can click in to see detailed information about them, and we can see those stats, etc. So that's really useful. People don't have to have so much training, they're just getting taken straight to the thing that's of interest. Again, in a similar way, we've done the same with trends. So trends were brought out in the previous release and have been quite popular already in terms of giving people that history track of data. But the form required you to go to trends and then choose the view that you wanted, and there was a bit of complexity to that. Now we can bring that straight out. So if I want to see the timescale trend, I can see how that's moved for this project. Or if I want to see how benefits have tracked, I can see that as well. And it's giving me here a standard pre-save thing. We've got basically a year of data bucketed into monthly chunks. We could of course fiddle around with that if we wanted to, but that's about getting us to some quick standard analysis. So that's really quite a powerful thing. We've not got away from all the documents. All the documents are still here. All the reporting's still here. But this means when you first come to the project, you straight away get some feel for where it is and how it's running. And if you're a senior manager, that's great. You don't have to go poking on too far further to find things out. Let's have a look at another example, because it's important to recognise that this isn't fully hard-coded in. You can change this to be what you want it to be. So let's go and have a look at one using the praxis method. This is a different sort of method. It's got a lot of different diagrams in it, and rather than repeating all that content on every diagram, instead we've just put a one-click item in here, which is a sort of status. It's showing you the current project status. And yes, in the navigation, we're showing you the process statuses as well. But we've not gone for all the other data. Instead, we've gone click for more, and we've got a separate dashboard at the end, which allows us to see many of those same things, because they're the popular things that we know people really like to engage with. But it's just laid out more of a data view than a process. We've still got the process stuff here if you want to jump to process, but it's much more of a data view than a sort of blended view. And with this one, of course, we can then jump back to our project and get on with the documentation like we would have done before. So it's up to you how you choose to personalize these to put on the data that you're interested in. So let me just show you that briefly then. We have a tool for dealing with that stuff. It's called Method Manager. It's a tool for your administrators. Normal users don't use this. It's for setting up your methods, and you set up the processes and documents that you want, and then you set up the navigation diagrams that you want. There is simply a JPEG, so you draw the diagram, and then on top of that diagram you lay some instructions. So this is obviously the instruction that says, if you click on here, take me to the Explorer and show me these documents, or if you click on here, take me to show me my project task. But you can see you can now set the view as part of that here. And you can then, so many of these other ones are then a bit more interesting. They're data types. So this one up here, of course, is show me the project name. This is the new type of thing called an info panel. And it's showing me the property, project display name. And I can determine the color of the text, the size of it, its location and alignment, etc. within that. I can also do other things like the RAG statuses. So here we've got a RAG status again. It's an info panel. I've said where it is and how big it is, and I can see how that's laid out here. and then it's using the property status, and it's drawing a property of this particular size, and it's colouring it depending on what the status text is. Fairly straightforward sort of thing. This means you can personalize anything you want in that way, and actually those maps there can be run on text match, but they can also be run on a number range. So when we looked at this one over here, and we saw these color-coded things here showing number of overdue tasks, risks and issues, this was showing me plan overdue tasks. That's the property value, so I can see the number, and then the background color for that blob was dependent on the number of them. So if we had one overdue task, or if we had no overdue tasks, it's green. 1 to 6, it's yellow. Any more than 6, we get a red background. So you can choose how significant that is, how you want to indicate that to people. So it's really a very powerful thing, and it's up to you how you want to build these to use that functionality to give information to your audiences about the projects and how they're working. Now, we've got a full set of these methods available in the new release, and we'll be talking about that in a later video and exploring a couple more of them. But that's just so you can see that these things are within your hands to edit. No one's claiming this is a particularly simple tool to use. Once you've used it once or twice, though, it's pretty intuitive. And it's a tool for administrators. Normal users don't have to get their hands dirty with all this sort of thing. But it means you can personalize it yourself. You don't have to come back to us. It's not a development activity. Okay, I hope you found that really helpful. That was video 1. In video 2, we're going to look at PABX extensions in much more detail in a similar interactive way. Okay, thank you very much.